to you, 7:37. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Ellie on death and talking to children about death. I'm a little bit surprised, but, you know, all views are welcome. Steve says, it seems to me that the school curriculum is becoming more to do with touchy-feely things rather than education. Further dumbing down of the children of the future, methinks, because I'm not talking about death in schools. Christina says, as a retired teacher, I'm wary about influencing children too much. By talking about death to children, you might make them anxious. Can we not let children be children and stop piling adult concepts onto fragile minds?
It is difficult.
Then they do have to deal with death, don't they? The death of a pet, the death of a grandparent, the death... Should it be an adult concept or should it just be a human concept?
It's part of life, isn't it,
I'm a little bit surprised. I normally agree with teachers when you email in. I'm not so sure about that one, Christina.
Yeah, let us know what you think. GBViews at gbnews.uk. It's certainly a difficult conversation to have, and I think it would have to be done in a very specific way when you're talking to children. But I do think, as Brits, we do need to talk about it more, definitely.
I think so, but then again, you can quite happily disagree with me. I could very well be wrong. Normally am.
No, that's not true. It's not true.
I don't know. I am. I'm told that I've realised at home now.
You get in trouble at home, do you?
That I am wrong.
All the time.
Yeah, but the problem is, you know, you sort of go, it's true.
Oh.
I am actually wrong most of the time.
Oh, yeah. Is that someone there?
Someone agree?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Well timed, yep. And it's funny because at home I'm always right.
Yes, morning, Gigi.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the newspapers this morning. We'll start with the Sunday Times. Says the Prime Minister is going to get Brexit done and could reveal his deal on the Northern Ireland Protocol. We're expecting it tomorrow. It says without the blessing of the DUP, which would be extraordinary.
Really would. The Mail leads on turmoil in the Conservative Party over allegations that Rishi Sunak is using his upcoming visits to Paris and Berlin to schmooze EU nations.
1 in 100 police officers in England and Wales faced criminal charges last year, according to The Observer.
The Sunday People leads on the news that Matt Hancock has set up a TV company following his stint on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
That's so someone will employ him.
Well,
employ himself. Oh, I don't know.
Don't want to say anything.
Be officially a media professional then. Let's go through the papers with editor of Spiked, Tom Slater, and journalist and political consultant Emma Burnell. Morning, you two. Emma, let's kick off with some heavy stuff, should we, in the Observer. 1 in 100 police officers in England and Wales faced a criminal charge last year. I struggle to believe that because it just seems extraordinary. 1%.
1%, yeah, it is extraordinary and it's appalling. There's a phrase that's quite often used in politics, which is lawmakers can't be lawbreakers. I would say that's doubly true for those who enforce the laws. We've got to be able to trust the police, and I really, really worry about how much trust is breaking down in the police. And that used to be something we were worried in particular with just BME communities, things like that. But I think it's much broader now. Women in general are just, you know, if you're stopped by a single policeman, I would question what to do in that circumstance now in a way that I never would have done growing up.
Whereas the reality is, I mean, this is the thing, the reality is you would be in no more danger now than you would have been back in the past.
Well, no, that's not. I mean, if this is the case, apparently this has gone up by 590%.
What would the stuff that's aware of?
Well, maybe, but I do think that, I mean, awareness is important, but I think we really need to think about how we're recruiting to the police and who we're recruiting to the police, because it just can't be the case that this is seen as a way of getting out of being able to be a lawbreaker with impunity.
And those checks need to be done.
Absolutely.
I mean, I was at a press conference a few weeks ago, and the only good thing out of all of this is the new commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, was saying, look, this is going to happen. In the next 6 months, we're going to see 2 to 3 police officers in court every single week, which was remarkable, really, to hear him say. But at least he's accepting that there is a problem. This is more than just a few bad apples. But at the core, he was saying They're very good police officers. The majority,
Well,
99%.
It must be so frustrating for
yeah.
that 99%, and they need this to happen.
Yes, of course
as
they
much
do.
as anybody else does. You know, we want a police force we can trust. That majority of the police force want to be trusted, but there does have to be work done on what has gone so clearly institutionally wrong.
And it starts here, doesn't it? We're just facing the music.
Absolutely.
Criminal charges, and we are going to see these awful court cases, but hopefully out of that, as you say, reform is on its way. Tom, let's look at the Mail now, shall we? And Rishi Sunak being accused of dragging the King into politics. Tell us a bit more about this.
Yes, so a lot of anger amongst kind of Brexiteer Tory backbenchers about the fact that King Charles is being lined up for a sort of charm offensive with Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission, and so on. And that essentially has always been a sort of perennial problem with Brexit, which is the extent to which you bring the royals into it. Also, there was always these scandals in the run-up to it about Michael Gove, suggesting that maybe the Queen had backed Brexit, or all these different sort of things coming out in the newspapers. You then had this. Again, this sort of issue where King Charles is effectively one of the most, the most senior, most experienced, at least, diplomat in the country in so many respects. And yet, of course, there is this reticence, given the fact that Brexit is seen as such a divisive issue and so on, that Rishi Sunak is effectively taking King Charles and lending his seal of approval to a deal that could also still be quite contentious. Some of the reporting in it even suggests that the agreement was at one point going to be presented as the Windsor Agreement, which I'm sure would never have flown in the first place. And that concern that effectively just the government of the day is kind of using the royals as a way to give some credibility to what might be quite a contentious policy. It's a difficult one, but at the same time you do sort of wonder, would it not have been easier just to keep the royal family out of this so as not to get this kind of backlash, I suppose?
Maybe. You're not a royal fan.
I'm not a big royalist, but we have a monarchy. We have a constitutional monarchy. They have a role to play as diplomats. I think where Tom is right on this, it just feels a slightly clunky. It's that classic Rishi Sunak, ever so slightly clunkiness in terms of his public presentation of these things. So it's kind of going hell for leather in this direction, but bringing so many other aspects into it that just feel a little forced. Charles is one of our senior diplomats. I don't want to have a constitutional monarchy, but I live in one, and that is the case. So, of course, it's his role to go out and make the case for Britain wherever that needs to be made, and that includes in the EU. But just the timing and the presentation just, again, feels just that little bit off.
A little bit off, yeah. No, perhaps so. Can we have a look, because we've teased this a little bit, I want to look in the Sunday People. Matt Hancock, who is now, I cannot understand how this works. He's set up his own TV company following being on I'm a Celebrity. For what? For why? How? Who? What?
For Matt Hancock, as far as I can tell. I mean, I could set up a TV company tomorrow, so could you. You two would probably actually get further with it than I would. But, setting up a TV company does not mean you are going to be on the telly, I'm afraid. You have to pitch these ideas that you make to broadcasters who may or may not want to then buy them. Yeah. So it just feels like yet another Hancock vanity project. I mean, the man knows no shame, no boundary to his vanity.
And this is all part of him pursuing a media career, isn't it, Tom?
And I wish he would be upfront about that. I think he'd get less flack if he was, because he's tried to present his media career, his burgeoning media career, as effectively an act of public service. I'm going on I'm a Celebrity to talk about dyslexia. When he mentioned it a handful of times. I'm going to donate my fee to charity. The small print suggested it was a proportion of that fee, not
very small proportion.
And similarly with this, I want to make documentaries about, I think it's assisted suicide is one, there's other things that he's concerned about. But again, you can't help but feel this is about the fact that he's got a bit of a taste of the limelight. He seems to like it.
Why would we want to hear him do a documentary? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't...
Others have done it. I mean, look at Portillo, for example. And I mean, his train, those train documentaries and things that he did, very popular, and it turns out it's an area in which he's very informed. Perhaps Matt Hancock has got, he's very informed on assisted suicide. I don't know.
But the thing about Portillo and surprisingly Ed Balls, I think, is that they are good media performers.
Yeah.
Whereas Matt Hancock always comes across as just a bit weird.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
What time? So, Zach in the gallery, tell me what time we need to move out? Oh, we've got 1 minute.
But it will be interesting, just a last word on that Matt Hancock story, is what do his constituents think of all of this?
Well,
It's one thing after another, it seems.
Well, he doesn't have to care anymore, does he? He's not trying to be re-elected.
He's out, but, you know.
No. So we've got 40 seconds, Tom, to talk about roast dinners in the Sunday Times.
Yes, so people are having fewer roast dinners because of the cost of living crisis.
Understand
36% of Brits are cooking a traditional meal less frequently than a year ago because of, again, the sky-high costs of actually putting your oven on for that long.
It costs a fortune to put an oven on.
Well, this is exactly it. So, heretically, some people are exploring doing their Yorkshire puddings in the microwave and using air fryers and things. So these are the sort of...
I've done a roast chicken in an air fryer.
There we go.
I wouldn't recommend. I wouldn't. It can be done, I've been told, but I haven't mastered it.
A roast can be very cheap. I know meat, yeah, it can be. I know you've still got to cook it, but, you know, things like if you don't go with a meat and get a meat alternative that can be really cheap, £1 for a thing, and chuck it in the oven.
What would you have then?
Well, because I'm vegetarian.
Veggie, yeah. What would you have? Nut roast.
Corn roast.
You can. There are lovely nut roasts out there. I mean, I'm not.
As well?
I'm not a veggie, but I like to mix it up a bit, and I've had a beautiful veggie nut roast for.
Yeah, but they can be quite as easy. You want a great slab of corn in this case, and it's cheap. And it doesn't take long to cook.
Yeah.
In the oven.
In the oven.
Yeah.
So a roast is an easy, cheap option for me, all things considered. But there you go. I'm a skinflint. Actually, sticking on it, we'll talk to you two a little bit later on. Thanks very much.